Antonio Bay has a curse on it. We're all cursed.
There's no water getting here, but something awful cold, Dana.
Between midnight and 1, it will find you.
G'day guys, BZ here, back in the Neon Doom Room. Thanks for joining me today. Today is the first Neon Doom Room movie review, I guess you could call it. We've never done movie reviews before, but I figure it's probably about time, seeing as we're in year 2 of the channel, to start reviewing movies. And why not? I mean, this is the bread and butter of this room. Essentially, the biggest thing in the room, the biggest stuff, the thing that takes up the most space in this room is movies. Blu-rays, DVDs, VHS. I don't think I have reel-to-reel, but if I had room for it, I probably would. But let's talk about one that I watched literally the other night, and a lot of people will go, oh my god, what is wrong with you? You call yourself a film collector. I've never seen this film. I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter, but I've never seen this film. The Fog. Now, I bought it on Blu-ray. I've had it for a little bit now in the shelf. It's been in there probably for half a year. But I've been meaning to get around to seeing it. Big, huge fan of John Carpenter. You know, he's not the perfect director, but I do love him. I do love him a lot. Especially his Escape from New York, Escape from LA, a bunch of the other stuff that he's done. But I've never seen this before. Never. Not once. And I thought I would watch it and review it while it's fresh in my mind. So this is the remastered The Fog. It is actually a 2-disc edition. So you got the movie and then you've got the extras. So let's have a chat about it. Let's have a chat about what I think of this as a flawed masterpiece or just a good movie, not a great movie. That will divide some people, but I'll explain myself. Let's have a chat about it. What's up, guys? We're going to talk about The Fog today. I'm just going to put Handy down here. Handy kind of guy to keep around. Alright, here we go. We've got The Fog. We just showed you that at the very beginning. Maybe you like this review, maybe you won't. Don't know. Doesn't really matter. We've got opinions. Okay, remastered. We've got a remastered double disc edition of John Carpenter's The Fog. There'll be a bit of B-roll underneath showing me lovingly opening this up. As you can see on the inside, we have The Fog Disc 1. This is the movie, and on this side we have Disc 2. This will say extras, I do believe. Yes, it says extras on it. Nice and blue on the inside here to match the disc case, the Blu-ray case. The front looks like this. The back, after we pass the side, looks like this. I don't know if my camera can pick all of that up with all of the glare of the screen, but you'll see the B-roll. It has the main movie on the front, and then it has the extras second disc. It's got Retribution uncovering John Carpenter's The Fog, The Shape of Things to Come, John Carpenter Unfilmed, Intro by John Carpenter, Scene Analysis, I can't talk, Scene Analysis by John Carpenter, Fear on Film, Inside the Fog featurette, audio commentary, of course, with writer-director John Carpenter and writer-producer Deborah Hill, audio commentary with actors Adrienne Barbeau, Tom Atkins, and production designer Tommy Lee Wallace, The Fog, storyboard to film, featurette, Horrors Hallowed Grounds with Sean Clark, some outtakes, some TV spots, theatrical trailers, a photo gallery, including behind the scenes, glasses pushed back up. So you get quite a lot for this. Now, I haven't seen or I haven't watched Disc 2, the extras yet. I have a lot to say on this. I have, however, watched The Fog. I watched this a few nights ago, and I'm doing the review part of this today. Hence, my shirt is different with Alice Cooper on it, and I'm wearing my favourite Misfits cap. But yes, let's get into it. The Fog is a good movie. It's not a great movie. That's my opinion. Though I agree that it definitely firmly resides in the cult cinema category. The Blu-ray remastered edition of the film itself has a highly visible film grain early on. Maybe I'll show you a screenshot. It was very evident. Straight away I was like, what the hell is going on here? Why is the screen all fuzzy and snowflakey? That's probably the film stock, but it's on the remastered edition. I mean, you would think or hope that that's all they had to work with, because the rest of the film was kind of fine. But that was very, very bad. It was very early on in the film and in the darker scenes, which I found to be quite disappointing. I'm assuming the film stock, like I mentioned, could not be saved, as they had to include the scenes. But yes, it was quite a shame that the damage was so visible on a Blu-ray. Like when I say it was visible, it was very, very visible, like detrimentally visible, and very much detracted from my viewing experience, because it was right at the beginning. Now, the actors, Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, great to have her in the film, Tom Atkins and John Houseman, amongst others, many other people in this film, were brilliant. Their performances were on par with other performances of that era on film that they've worked in. There was definitely no sloppy acting here, as I believe their characters, and for the most part their emotions and motives, were true. They felt in character, and they were great in character, and I enjoyed them in character. The story, on the other hand, wasn't as gripping as it could have been, though it was very fun, had a great classic horror mystery element to it. I could see how in that era that it might have been scary. It was not 1 inch scary to me at all. It was fun. It was a great movie to watch. It was fun. I couldn't wait for all of the things to sort of play out, but it was not scary. Maybe back in the era, the decade that it was filmed, it was shocking. But it was most definitely not shocking to me, not even in the slightest. And I'm not much, like, I love horror, but I don't love horror on the level that a lot of my other friends and other people do love horror. So I was not shocked, I was not squeamish, there was nothing like that in the film. But it was fun. Now, I found the story to have some great shock moments. I mean, very John Carpenter shock moments. But I strongly feel he underutilized many elements of the story. I'm sure that if he'd heard this review, he'd probably give me the middle finger that he gave the fan who asked him why Escape from LA was so bad. Insert clip.
Fuck you.
Yes, that really happened. As you can see. It's great, great moment. Yes, John Carpenter may give me the middle finger as well. Okay, spoilers ahead. I'm going to talk about the film. If you don't want to hear about the film, I'm sure, look, I've never seen the film before this date. I know it's a shame, but other people might not have also seen the film. If you haven't seen the film and you don't want to know about the plot, jump to the end of this review. Spoilers, starting now. Now, the fisherman who was found with his eyes gouged out was great. And how he got up and fell after carving 3 onto the floor was nice and creepy. However, they could have had some of the other victims turn up in similar circumstances, such as the old lady who was pulled out of the house door. There are a lot of problems in this film with Chekhov's gun, being shown things but not knowing where they went. And now you might say, well, it's part of the charm of the film. Sure, but so many things happened in this film that had no answer, that had no catalyst, that had no ending, that they just disappeared off screen and that was the end of that. So that old lady that was pulled out of the house door, great moment. I mean, like, you know, I wouldn't say gripping, but definitely a moment where you're like, oh my god, she's going to be taken, why are you walking out the door? You know, classic trope in a film. Don't open the door. Why are you opening the door? Why are you standing there? What are you looking out for? I mean, you wouldn't do it. Well, you wouldn't do it, I wouldn't do it, why is she doing it? She never turns up again. The other 2 fishermen on the boat, you know, one of them got found and was brought back and, you know, sat up in the hospital bed dead. But the other 2 fishermen who were like hacked to pieces on the boat could have turned up somewhere as shock value. Either dead or strung up somewhere visible, or dead alive doing something dastardly, or even join the undead crew on their rampage. It just felt like they just vanished, that's the end of them. Now, I am jumping all over the place with this film, just to let you know there's lots of things I've got to say. I'm not the best with scripts. The mother leaving her son to fend for himself. That was just so weird. I mean, she knew it was happening. She got on the air, frantically apologising to her son, calling for people to go and get her son, of course, which they did, but apologising on air that she wasn't going to go and help him. I mean, just weird, man. It's just weird. It's your son. And she didn't even try to leave, didn't even try to risk her own life. She gave some excuse at the end saying that she had to stay. She was so sorry, she had to stay. She had to let everyone know. She had to stay in the radio station and know. It was just weird. It was super weird. The backstory we hear of how people mysteriously vanish, dying, the people dying, or people seeing the ghost ship is very random. Doesn't really explain very much of why it's happening. Like, are the crew coming to shore because it's been 100 years since the murder? And why is 100 years important? Is 100 years important for some reason? All the ghostly things that are happening before the fog reaches town. So does the fog have any other purpose besides it was there when the crew was driven to shore in the 1800s? Many things are left hanging. Whilst you don't have to explain all of a story, there has to be some of Chekhov's gun, as I mentioned earlier, play out to an understanding of sorts. We don't really know why these things are happening. We don't really know why the rocks flying through windows, why all the lights flashing, why are all of the headlights on the cars going off and on, the horns going off and on. Like, all these random full-on things. There's no fog yet. There's no fog in the town yet. This is even before anything happens. This is actually in the witching hour in that film. They call the witching hour between 12 and 1, or whatever it is. In the hours of 12 and 1. Like, all this stuff happens. But then it stops. And then other things sort of happen. Like the rocks, I think, happen going through the car with the truck window randomly. All these other random things are happening. But it doesn't explain why. Like, why is it that exactly on midnight things start happening and then they stop? And then they happen again, then they stop. It doesn't really... There's no sort of understanding of why that is. I mean, you can say, oh, you're picking. But no, this is a story. This is a story from beginning to end. So you're showing things happening. But when the fog rolls in is when the undead crewmen of the Elizabeth Dane come to shore. So what are all these other things? Are these like pre-ghostly things that are happening? Why are they happening before everything else is happening? So when the boats attacked, when the trawlers attacked, the fog rolls in. Then the big, clipper ship, ghostly clipper ship pulls alongside them, and then they get killed. And then the fog rolls out again. And then the fog rolls into town. And one by one, wherever the fog touches, people start dying. But here's the thing as well. Only 6 people die. 6 people die. 6 people die. I should do it that way. 6 people die. Randomly. Why? Why 6? I mean, this fog rolls through the whole town. They could just take revenge on the whole town. Everywhere they go, the fog, there's I keep calling them pirates. There's leper colonists, the undead bodies of leper colonists, sailors slaughtering people, but it's only 6 people. So they kill the trawlers, that's 3 fishermen. Then they kill the old lady. And then they kill, before they kill the old lady, they kill the radio guy who walks outside of the radio. Is he related to anyone in any way? In that old book, does it mention that the guilty ones that conspired with each other were related? I didn't catch that in the movie. Maybe somebody can, put me right. Were they related? Because as far as I'm aware, in my head, if you're going to come after the townsfolk, you go after the people that set the scene to get you murdered. But they killed the 3 trawler fishermen. They killed the radio man that dead walked outside of his weather station. And then they killed the old lady, that's 5. And then nobody. Fog rolls through town. Scary fog. Everyone's reversing and driving away. Everyone's too scared to be in the fog. But they were only ever going to kill 6 people. 6. It mentions that in the book, 6 people. Those 5 people, how are they related? Don't understand. The 6th person was the priest. The priest's grandfather was the priest that hid the book away, diary away, in the wall of the church. Yes, you can understand him. He's important. He's important because he's related to his grandfather, who was one of the murderers, who hid the gold cross and the book away in the wall. Who are these 5? So they killed these other 5 people. Was it random? Or were they related? Like, you got a whole town, seaside town full of people. I don't understand. This is what I don't understand about this movie. And I'm not trying to give it a hard time because I enjoyed watching it. It was fun. It just didn't make sense. Chekhov's gun continually, was found, seen, and ignored all the way through this film until we got to the priest. And the priest, I went, yeah, the priest. Because the priest's grandfather was a murderer. Does that mean the other 5 people's grandparents were murderers? Wasn't clearly spelt out. I mean, Adrienne Barbeau's character, who I don't remember the name of in the film, the DJ, the radio DJ, she was attacked. They didn't kill her though. She was attacked on the lighthouse roof when she was trying to flee the undead ghouls of the sailors. Climbed up and up and up and got, I think, stabbed through the shoulder. I can't really recall. But she didn't die. She almost died, but she didn't. How's she related? She was from Philadelphia. Or some such place. But she wasn't related because she had nothing to do with the town. So this story doesn't really have any, strong connection with why it's happening. It's not witty enough to be able to string you along and drop the pieces down like pebbles on a path to let you figure it out, because there's nothing to figure out. It's just a ghost story, just like it says at the beginning. It's like the man reading the ghost story to the kids around the fire. It's a ghost story. And it's true to a point. It just doesn't lay out all the answers for you. And I found that extremely disappointing because I got to the end, I'm like, okay, cool, priest eventually died. Some great scenes in there as well, by the way. But the priest eventually died because he didn't deserve it, but his grandfather deserved it, and he paid the price. Everyone else, why? The corpse of the fisherman gets up and says 3 dead, carves it on the floor, and then falls down unmoving. 3 gone. 3 of 6. Why? Doesn't tell me. Doesn't make sense. When you watch a movie, anybody who watches a movie that doesn't have a peanut rattling around inside their skull wants to figure out why things are happening. This film doesn't tell you why it's happening. John Carpenter hasn't always made the most in-depth movies in life, but most of them have a good story with a plot that follows an intricate trail but leads you to a conclusive end that you understand. This movie does not do that. So, yes, I did indeed love watching this movie. What I didn't really enjoy was not knowing why. And I need a why. And if the why was as simple as a few explanations of, my great-grandfather was there, whatever, or some names, some surnames in the diary, and the surnames are the names of the people currently in the story. And then you can tie those knots together to make one thread that leads to the end of the story, and that didn't have that, unfortunately. I won't go on about that anymore. What I will tell you that were the good things that I liked in the movie, and some of them are weird things. So the quirky cleaner or shopkeeper drinking the bottle off the shelf that he's selling and then putting it back on the store shelf again before everything starts going haywire in the store. The squeaky sign just after that, where everything calms down and then there's just that squeaky sounding sign. The gold coin that the young boy finds on the rocks that shines off from down the beach, that was well done. I really loved that, how it glowed and became the board, the signboard from the ship that says the Elizabeth Dane. I love that transition. It was great. The sign itself, that same sign, when Adrienne Barbeau's character had it in her radio station, starts leaking water all over her cassettes and stuff, and it leaks into the stereo tape recorder, and the tape recorder starts speaking some demonic voices. That was great. Loved that. That was great. I wish I could understand what the words were saying. Might have to rewatch that. The fog coming in under the doors and through the windows. The actual ghouls themselves, the sailors that were fighting. Well done. Great practical effects. Really cool looking. Some really violent stabbing and slashing scenes in there as well. And really not really much blood, in the way of blood. So I like that kind of element. You don't have to have gore and splatter to make something thrilling and exciting. That was really cool. It wasn't really, it wasn't chilling. It wasn't, shocking to me. But it was fun. It was really good. The ship floating beside the fishing vessel, that was awesome as well. I don't know how they did that, but that was really cool. The human silhouettes in the fog, the glowing eyes and the steel swords and the hooks and the banging on the doors. Here's another thing that kind of freaked me out, is that before the fog even rolled in, the guy that ends up sleeping with Jamie Lee Curtis's character, he goes to the door because there's a banging on the door, which is what they do. They bang on the door. He opens it and there's no one there. Why was that there? There was no fog. There was no fog. So who was it? Was it a stranger? Was it just for spook value? Like, doesn't make sense. Anyway, the music was, we'll go to the music. The music was classic John Carpenter. He did create the music for that. I did find that out. He did make the music for it. And of course he loves making his own music, and I love that he loves doing that. It was very John Carpenter. The tune itself, the main theme that played sort of throughout, it reminded me heavily of the Halloween theme. Oh, I'm doing a terrible job of it, but you know which theme I'm talking about. It reminded me heavily of that. Really muted and a little bit kind of like weaker, but it sounded very much like that. Look, it was a good film. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a fun film. I think that I enjoyed The Fog and consider it a short and fun ride. It was very, very good rather than great. It wasn't a great film. It wasn't a spectacular film. It didn't knock my socks off. It didn't make me feel awesome at the end of it. What I felt like I was left with was too many questions that were unanswered, and that shock and action was underused to achieve the results that could have been achieved to make this a great film. There was definitely a lot of things that were underused that could have been used. I strongly believe that about this film. I don't know if they cut costs or they tried to shorten it or they just wanted to keep it real minimal, but it was definitely like there was some things there that could have been done more of. Not necessarily all better, but more of. It was quirky, it was creepy, it was very minimalist, and it was quite tropey, but then again in that era things were very tropey anyway. But definitely worth watching, and not a bad film. Really not a bad film. Mostly kind of confusing, a little underwhelming, and just, I don't know, fine for a Carpenter film. There are other ones. Ghost of Mars I think was even better. I know some of you guys are gonna let have it at me, but I honestly just think this could have been much better. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my review of The Fog. I do like it a lot. I almost say I love it, but I don't truly love it. I'm going to give this out of 5 ghouls. I don't have a proper system for reviews, so I'm going to call them ghouls. Out of 5 ghouls, 5, I'm going to give it 3.5. 3.5 ghouls out of 5. Let me know your thoughts in the bottom. I'm sure plenty of you that have an opinion will let me know below your opinion. Good or bad, let me have it. It's fine. These are all just opinions. And I want to say good night to you all. Thank you so much. From me and Handy. Handy, say good night. Good night. See you on the next one. Later. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I'm sure I've divided fans about this movie, The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog. There'll be people out there, I'm sure, that say that I'm crazy, that I'm stupid, that I don't know what I'm talking about, but these are just my opinions. So just keep that in mind. This is just about my opinion about this movie after watching it. Everyone's welcome to their own opinion. I'm happy to have your opinion, so if you've got anything you want to say, put it down there in the comments. Just make sure, if regardless of whether you like me or hate me, if you want to, subscribe and like. I should have done that back to front. Like and subscribe, and there is a bell up here that's really down there. You can press that if you want to be kept up to date where I'm going and what I'm doing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate all of you, and maybe we'll do some more of these reviews as we get along, just because I think it's a good idea. But that's my opinion about The Fog, and yeah, good movie. Not a great movie in my opinion, but a good movie. And the transfer, the remaster, okay. Good, like reasonable, good, just good. Okay, just good, not great. They could have done better, but maybe they had the film stock to work with. Anyway, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one. It is BZ here in the Neon Doom Room. BZ out. See you on the next one. Love you. High five, guys. High five, guys. What's up?